Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Y'all, we gotta talk, which I know is the beginning of no good conversation anywhere ever, but we really gotta talk. Y'all, we gotta talk about maybe breaking up with Goodreads. And I know that's a lot, so I tell you what, I'm gonna give y'all a minute to get your wits together while you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. Yeah, y'all, we gotta talk about this. Now, I don't know if it's just me, or maybe like if it's a me issue or a Goodreads issue, but my Goodreads feed is just slap full of book talk trash, and I just don't know what all, and I feel like it's all like pushing to try to get me to buy books from Amazon, and I don't know. Anyway, and again, maybe it's just me, because you know, you ever have those friends who are always complaining about how their social media feeds are just slap full of just trashy videos, and then they're like, look at this trashy video, look at this trash video, my feed is just full of trashy videos, and they're steady like clicking the trashy videos for you to look at how trashy the videos in their feeds are. You're like, dude, stop clicking the trash and you'll stop getting the trash. Well, okay, so maybe that's my issue with Goodreads. I don't know. Maybe I read too much trash and so Goodreads keeps feeding me the trash. I don't care. I don't want my book reviewing and recommending website telling me about the trash that I read. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to look into some alternatives to Goodreads, because really I shop around for everything else, right? I price shop all my stuff. I comparison shop. I don't know why I'm not comparison shopping my book recommendation sites, because there are other sites out there. I feel like I'm just maybe so like locked into that Amazon ecosystem that I just use Goodreads because that's what Amazon uses. It's what's sort of embedded in Amazon and in the Kindle and in all of those things. So I tell you what, I need to run and do some errands. I need to drop off a return to Amazon. So let me do that. Let me run my errands, let me do my drop-offs, and then I'll get home, I'll get on the computer, and I'll meet y'all there, and we can talk about some different sites that we can use for book reviews and book recommendations, maybe instead of or along with Goodreads. So maybe we don't break up with Goodreads, maybe we just date other people along with. So let's do that. Let me do this. We'll get back to the house. We'll get on the computer and we'll talk about some other websites. All right, so I'll meet y'all back there. All right, y'all, we have made it to the house. As you can see, I finished my errands, got a little snack. I got me a tasty beverage, and I did a quick little ride on I did a significant ride on the Peloton bike. So if I look a little like mistied and like I'm a little overexcited for this conversation, that's probably why, because I had to do a ride before I could come up here and do this and hang out with y'all, because otherwise I would have been like this the whole time thinking, I need to go do my ride. So that's done. Now I can just chill and hang out with my friends. So y'all, let's get into this. I want to get us over on the computer and talk about some different sites that I've found that I'm going to try. Now, let me say this. One thing that I have found as I've been doing this research is there are a ton of sites out there. There are some very niche sites that you can find, like if you're into, I don't know, fairy books or like fantasy books or LGBTQ stuff, or if you're very keen on like representation of people with certain disabilities in different books, there are platforms for all kinds of readers of all of those different genres. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff because we'd be here all day. So I'm just going to get into the reading trackers and like, I don't know, statistics, loggers, I guess, that I'm going to start using and see if I decide to use those probably in tandem with Goodreads or possibly to replace my Goodreads. But let's jump on the computer. I want to show you some stuff and y'all can just see what you think. And you know what? Let me know if you've already done this, like if you've already invented the wheel, let me know what you've found that's working for you. So let us know in the comments. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you what I've found. So let's jump over to the computer and get started. All right, y'all, let's jump in here. I'm just going to type, I want to start with Storygraph. So let's just jump, I just Googled it. And I'm just going to jump over to the Storygraph website. Oops, I clicked Storygraph Plus. Let me go ahead and just slay the elephant in the room before we even get started here. I'm sure I know I mentioned, because it's part of my rant, that Goodreads was bought by Amazon years and years, like back in, okay, I don't really know the year, but I want to say like 2015. And when that happened, I realized it, not when it happened, but shortly thereafter. And I thought that like things were going to get all like super fancy and nice on Goodreads, and it just never really changed. But I always kind of felt like there was some sort of underlying Amazon sort of pressure on Goodreads, like that the books that I saw were Amazon books that were being pushed to the top. I don't know, and maybe that's just me, but I just always kind of felt like there was that pressure over there. So one thing that I like about the sites that we're going to see today is, at least as of now, they're not owned by these like multi-billion-dollar conglomerates. I like those words. I don't even know if they apply here, but these big, huge businesses. But one of the things about that is that they don't have all that money coming in, so they have to generate money elsewhere. And one of the ways that they do that is by subscriptions. So I think all of these will have a premium level. I haven't gone premium on any of them. I probably will on at least one, if not two of them, once I figure out what I'm going to do, because I just think it's important to support these services that we use, especially if you want to get up on a soapbox and complain about like the big companies being overly influential in the sort of book selling, book buying space. I feel like you have to support other ways of buying and selling books. So with all of that having been said, there is a premium option for Storygraph. I have not subscribed to it yet, but just know that everything that we're doing today, you can do on the unpaid option. So let's jump in here. So Storygraph is a place where it's a lot like Goodreads. You can track your reading, you can track books that you've read, books that you want to read, but it has some benefits, I think, over Goodreads. One thing that Storygraph does that Goodreads does not do is it allows you, let me just jump into a book. Let's go to Beartown. Y'all know how I love me some Beartown. Let's just for giggles, let's jump into Beartown. And Beartown got a 4.39 stars. That makes me happy. But it says, you have read this book 2 times. I've read this book more than 2 times, but that's okay. So I imported my Goodreads information into Storygraph. And y'all, a lot of these sites let you do that, which is really nice. So if you're sitting here thinking, I can't leave my Goodreads, I've got all my books and all my notes and all my stars and all my everything in there, chill, McGill. Of course, they make it as easy as possible for you to come over. So I imported all of my Goodreads stuff over. And now when you look at a book review, Beartown, of course, is number one in our hearts. Sorry if I just hit my microphone, I get excited. But it tells us, so it's got tags, right? And this is one that I really like, medium paced. So it tells you if it's fast paced, medium paced, slow paced. It is most definitely sad. It is reflective, emotional. So it's got a bunch of tags that readers have tagged it to let you know about the book. And there are lots of mood tags on here. And content warnings. Of course, it has the warnings. Let's look over here. You can mark books as owned. Y'all, I love that because obviously I own Beartown and I know I own Beartown, but there are a bunch of books that I have bought that I have yet to read or even put on a TBR or any kind of list. I just have them. So if I get into the habit of when I buy books to go into at least one of these sites and mark them as owned, then when I'm at a bookstore and I look at a book and I'm like, oh, do I have this Ellen Hildebrandt book, which y'all have seen me do that, right? Look at Ellen Hildebrandt books like, I think I might already have this, but I bought it again because it's pretty. I can just look in my my Storygraph or one of the others that we'll talk about and see if it's owned. And I might have bought it and not marked it, but if I get in the habit of marking books as I buy them, I'll at least have a chance of not rebuying books. So I really like that. And you can change your reading history here. You can go in and mark when you read it, how many times you read it. So you can keep up with all of those things in here. And I like the fact that you can do this on the desktop, because to me, it just makes it easier. You can also do it on your phone. So like if you're, riding a bike or like sitting out in the sun or doing whatever, not riding a bike like on the street, but like a Peloton bike like I do. I had a viewer, bless his heart, get really concerned about me riding a bike and reading books. And I think he was really worried for my safety. Like he thought I was out riding bikes on the street reading books. So I had to explain that it was a stationary bike. But I thought that was very sweet that he asked me. He's like, ma'am, please don't do that. It's like, thank you for your concern. You can easily tag here your reading status of the book. You can see I finished it May 2020. And I marked it 5 stars. Now, I love this about Storygraph reviews. If you don't want to sit and like type out a whole review, you can go in and just tag things like tense, sad, reflective, lighthearted. No, it's most certainly not. It's emotional. It's a little funny. I don't know that I consider it dark. It is medium paced, even though y'all, I ate it up. It was fast paced for me, but I'm going to leave that alone. Is this book mainly plot or character driven? I think it's a mix. Is there strong character development? Lord Jesus, yes. There's not a Lord Jesus, yes thing to click, so I'm just going to click yes. Do you find the characters lovable? Oh, my Lord, yes. And the answer there is just Benji. My answer to all of these is just Benji. Would you say the cast of characters is diverse? Would I call them diverse? Yes. It's complicated. Yes, I would. That's probably complicated, but I'm not going to answer it. It's complicated because I think that's a cop-out. Are the flaws of the main character a main focus of the book? Benji has no flaws. I'm going to leave that blank because Benji has no flaws. Would you like to give the book a star rating? 0 out of 5 stars. Can I give it a 5.5? Let's see if it'll let me give it a 5.5. Y'all, I'm going to end up breaking the rating system. But here's what I like about this. And I'm not saving this, but you can give it like a 4.5 or a 4.75. Or you can, I don't think it'll let you give it a 5.5. I'm going to try it. Let's try it. I think no, it won't. It'll only let me go up to 5. But the point of all of that was you can give partial stars. And y'all know, if you've been watching me for longer than minute 1, you know that I am completely unhinged over Beartown. And that Beartown is what has kept me from giving star ratings, like official, like write them down star ratings to any other book, because I honestly have not found another book in which characters affect me the way Benji Ovich does. So that's a 5-star for me. Like the internet and I were talking about it the other day in relation to, like I almost said something in a review that would have just jacked up the Beartown trilogy for any reader. And the intern looked at me. I was like, I took it out. I edited it out. Sorry. But we were talking about Benji and how the character of Benji affects me to this day. And to me, that's a 5-star read right there. Like if I can walk away from a book and care about the characters that I read about, but not like, I almost cried talking about Benji with the intern, who is the absolute love of my life. Like the amount of shenanigans that man puts up with from me is like above and beyond anything that any human being should ever be able to expect. And talking to him about this, my fictional boyfriend, and like almost crying talking about Benji Ovich, to me that's a 5-star book right there. That is a 5-star character. And even like Iron Flame, which about wrecked me, that's not a 5-star read for me. And the fact that I can give, like I'll give Iron Flame a 4.75, maybe a 4.5, probably 4.75, because it pulled some shady emotional crap that I was pretty impressed with. But the fact that it lets you give partial stars, I think is big. So I should never talk about Beartown because it drags me down rabbit holes, but we looked at a bunch of stuff there. We looked at reviews. We looked at some stuff you can do on Storygraph. So let's sort of get into the guts of this. You saw literally everything I wanted to talk about the reviews, how I think sometimes we don't give reviews of books because we don't want to sit there and you don't want to have to type out like a whole composition like you had to in freshman lit, right? But this, it gives you the prompts. So if you just go in and answer those prompts, it shares information that'll be helpful for other readers. So that's really nice. You can do partial stars. I love the recommendations that they give. Now, I was going to wait and do this with y'all, but I didn't. So to get recommendations, you take a quiz, and the quiz asks you like list your 5 top reading genres right now, and like some other things like what tropes do you not want to see, what do you like, what do you this and that, and it'll generate recommendations based on that. And if you get recommendations and they're sort of heavy one way or the other, you can go back in and like kind of tweak what you did so that you can get recommendations that you think you're going to be more interested in. But what I like about these is that they're not, to me anyway, they're not the recommendations that I see when I just kind of like scan through Amazon or like flip through Goodreads, or you know, if I'm just going through Bookstagram or something. These aren't books that I see all the time, and I like that. It gives me like some other ideas of what I might like to read. But it's also throwing at me books that I own, like books that I've already bought. So that means they're doing something right. Either that or they're just throwing everything up against the wall. And since I buy all the books, like something's bound to stick. So let's just quickly look at what came up based on my survey. And then we'll look at a couple of other things. So We Were Wolves, I think I own that. All Eyes on Her. See, a lot of these I've never even seen. Meg Cabot, I know this author. I have some books by her. A Million Junes. It's behind. See, a bunch of these are just, I don't want to say obscure because I feel like that sounds ugly, but these are all things that I would like to explore. Like, I mean, at least click on them. We Made It All Up. I either have this or I have another book by this author, Margot Harrison. Yeah, like these all look really interesting. So, for instance, if I want to look at this, here's what I'm going to do is I'll look at this, because y'all know I'm a big like star looker at her. This is a 3.34 stars. No, thank you. Like I know, I mean, it might sound ugly, I'm sorry, but y'all, I just finished a book that was 3.6 stars and I was mad. Like I was PO'd that I spent the time reading that book. But this allows you to do that, right? And it puts more books kind of in front of you that you might not otherwise have looked at. So there's that. But here's what I really want to look at. So here's something based on my recent reads. So That Happened by Katie Bailey. That book right there looks like it's straight up my wheelhouse. Now, let me say this before I click on this. Y'all, do not judge me, because I can already see a bunch of trashy looking stuff is going to come up in here because it's going to be based on my recent reads coming up out of Goodreads. And y'all know that up in there is going to be like Butcher and Blackbird and the serial killer books, the Mind F series. I just finished one of those. There's a lots of. So here's what had happened was I finished Iron Flame, so I had to like heal myself from that with some good old-fashioned romance trash. So y'all don't judge me. Let's just see what they got. Let's see what they came up with for us. Not pretending anymore. All right then. Listen to Your Heart. That's cute. The Sinner. That's interesting. The Things We Learn When We're Dead. What is this? That looks like that might be interesting. Small decisions can have profound and unintended consequences. All right. It's 3.25. No, thank you. Y'all go on and enjoy that. All right. let's get out of here because I feel like I'm sounding like an absolute snob looking at these. Let's look at, there's one more thing I want to look at before we go. Actually, there are a couple other things here we go. Similar, oh, I just got out of my whole thing. Hang on. I got overly excited and double clicked. Similar users loved. I feel like this is going to be a good one. And I can already see that it is. So people who had tastes similar to me and probably had like past reads similar to me read these books. I have yet to read a Colleen Hoover book. I need to do that. Silent Patient, I own it. Marquez owned. Ugly Love, I think. So I own some Colleen Hoover books, but I don't know which one. So I'm not going to mark any of those. Let's put this Riley Sager in my to read. I need to read about Kate Stewart and see if I like her. There's another coho. Crescent City is right there on my shelf. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's back there. Marquez owned. Thank you very much. The Fine Print, we talked about that. I own it. I'm a little bit worried about reading it because I am concerned that it might be a show don't tell, but we'll see. Another coho. People You Meet on Vacation, I have read. So we're going to mark that as read. Rock, Paper, Scissors. I have that. I might have the ebook. I have one of those for certain. Flicker in the Dark. A Thousand Boy Kisses. Cute. Hidden Pictures. Every Summer After. That keeps coming up. I don't know if I have that or if it just keeps coming up in lists. In 5 years, I think I have that in, I think I got that for like $1.298 in Kindle. I own and I want to read Seven Husbands. I keep wanting to say Seven Wives of Victor Hugo. What is wrong with me? Other than that, we've been on this site for 20 minutes and we need to get moving. So this is going to be a really good source of recommendations for me. So let's get out of here. Y'all, look at this. Okay, that's my to read pile. So highlights of Storygraph. Oh, Storygraph. Hang on. One more thing we have to look at, and then we're seriously going to get out of here, y'all, is the stats. Now, these are going to be a little bit off for me. I need to go in and tweak them, but you can see here it imported, I'm actually missing a book on here, but it imported all of my reads from Goodreads. I think it already had my reading goal of 50 books. And it says that I've read 24. I've actually read 25, I think. But look at this, y'all. So this breaks down my reads by mood, like emotional, funny, dark. And look, most of my reads are emotional and funny. Go figure. A little bit dark, a little bit of the serial killer edge to it. So there's that. Most of them are medium paced. I need to look and see what I read that they consider fast paced. The slow one, I know what it is. I cannot think of the name of it. It was that dark academia about the like sort of culty kids that ended up killing folks in, it's like Harvard or Yale or somewhere. I can't remember. But that was slow. Page numbers, most of it between 300 and 499. A little bit over 500. And they're all fiction. It's all fiction. Top genre, go figure, romance. And then contemporary, fantasy, thriller. Why, anyway. So look how pretty these are. I love this. But all right, so this is Storygraph. There was something else I was going to tell you. Oh, yeah. Many books are in here, but if you can't find your book, you can add it manually by title or by ISBN, so that's really nice. So y'all, that's Storygraph. Now that we've spent an hour here, let's jump out of here and jump over to Hardcover. And Hardcover is similar to Storygraph in that you can track your reads, you can follow your friends, you can do all of those things. Pretty much all of the same things you can do in Storygraph, but Hardcover adds a couple of sort of added little gems. One of the things that Hardcover does that Storygraph doesn't do is, and this is kind of not fair to like judge Hardcover by this, but not judge Storygraph by this, but Hardcover lets you import your Storygraph data. So you can import your Goodreads data and your Storygraph data into Hardcover. So that's really nice. Where in Storygraph, all you can import, I think, is Goodreads data. But like you wouldn't be able to import your Storygraph data into Storygraph because, duh. Anyway, so if you've been using Storygraph and you want to try Hardcover, you can bring in your Storygraph data. Like I said, you've got your feed. Now, y'all, I have enough like social media feed places where I have to try to keep up, well, where I have the opportunity to keep up with people. So I'm not going to try to do it in these reading apps as well. So I don't do that in here. You can look at trending books in here. So these I feel like are all kind of the same things. Now, if you want to go to Hardcover as like, and y'all, at some point I'm 100% going to call Hardcover hard copy because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. Just deal with that. Recognize that like I'm a trashy girl from way back, but so just, you know, translate in your head. If you want Hardcover to be your sort of go-to source, it does have these like trending books. So, oh, that's a want to read. I need to quit it. So if you want this to be sort of your place where you go, it has these things like trending books. So these are the lists that you would see on like Goodreads. I know I do keep clicking stuff. I'm like one of my students, like when you're trying to teach a class online and you can tell the kid is like clicking stuff on other screens while you're talking to them. That's me right now, and I'm sorry for that. I'm going to stop doing this right now. So you can do that on here. You can find trending reads. You can do those things. I feel like that's kind of standard across all of these. You can do recommendations, but here's what I really like on here. Hardcover has prompts. So you can go in and look at, they have what's your favorite sci-fi or fantasy with a strong sense of place. And they have 32 book recommendations in here. Your favorite cozy fantasy. Look, it's got House in the Cerulean Sea. Love this one. Love Legends and Lattes. So chances are, based on those two choices, that at least some of these 21 books are going to be hits for me. So I might go back in and look at those. So there are prompts you can go in and look at. Need some shorter page turners to finish out my 52 book goal. So 41 books in this one. So you can go in and look at these prompts. But y'all, I think there's also a way, like if we start following each other in here, y'all can leave prompts for me, or like I can leave prompts like, you know, what's your favorite, I don't know, book that made you cry snot bubbles or something. I don't know, or book that made you laugh so hard you embarrassed yourself. We can leave prompts and answer them for each other if we decide we're going to do this. And I just said I'm not following people, so maybe we will. I don't know. But so you can go through and look at popular prompts. What's your favorite book of all time? Favorite childhood book? So I love these. I love these. I mean, they're really just sort of like curated book lists, but I love them. I think they're great. So I think that's something that Hardcover does really well. Speaking of book lists, there are also book lists. So your standard like featured book lists, there are popular book lists like 100 science fiction fantasy books, 100 science fiction and fantasy books of all time, books everyone should read, best fantasy books of all time by Time Machine. What? Stripe Press books. So you can go in by book list. There are new book lists. Series mashups. So lots of lists. You also, if you're interested in finding something to read, this is a great place to find new ideas. Just like back on Storygraph, where they had what I thought were some innovative recommendations for books. Because y'all, I mean, you can go to all the places and find all the same old recommendations. I think some of these are more interesting recommendations. So if you're looking for some sort of off the beaten path things to read, I think some of these are good places to sort of at least start looking to build your list. All right, so we talked about, what else do we need to talk about? Again, there are owned, like you can click owned books on here. So you can do want to read, currently reading, read, and owned. these stats, so I thought, I like pretty stats, of course. Storygraph, I think, are really pretty stats. These also have great stats, but to me, these are more, I don't know. My engineer friend, I think, would like the way these stats are presented more than the way, like, I think Storygraph ones are pretty. I think these are more sort of like straight to the point, like, here's what you got, here's what you're reading, here's what you're doing with it. And maybe some of the, maybe I just need to go in and tweak how my information is in here, but there's that. Or maybe you can change these. I don't know. I haven't really messed with them at all, but there's that. So the stats are here. You can like mark your books, reviews, same thing. You can do, I think you can do partial stars. Did I read this? It says I read it. Apparently I read this. I don't remember. Definitely don't remember reviewing it. Anyway, I've read a lot of books. So that's hardcover. Now let's go on and talk about, I know we've been in here since forever. Let's talk about, this is one that I haven't really messed with the whole lot. I signed up for it. It's called Bookwyrm. And I'm not overly sure of what it does. So I know that, I think I know, y'all, somebody, if you know what this is, let us know in the comments if you're familiar with Bookwyrm, if you're an expert. But I believe this is more socially geared. And let's look. I'm just going to click over. I think, so I imported my Goodreads information. And let's see, I'm just on their Discover page. And let's see what they have. Is this my feed? I don't even know what this is. See what's new in the local book. Okay, so this is the community. So this is the feed. Here we go. That's what I want is books. My 2 reads. Currently reading. Okay, there's literally nothing in here. Maybe I didn't import my Goodreads here. Here's what I think I know about Bookwyrm. I think that it's more of like a social interaction site. I think it's smaller than the others that we've talked about. And it's very, I don't know if anti-corporate is appropriate, but it's very not corporate. So they're very serious about not being affected by corporate pressure. Here are their lists. So I just went, again, I thought I imported my Goodreads. It must not have worked. But, so I just went to lists, books I've read. Let's see how this looks. Created by the reading, oh, the reading, okay, this is not me. I'm not the reading seamstress. I have not read Cold Clay. Okay, so these are just lists. 1L Misk. Books I've read in 2024. So you can just go through and look at different people's curated book lists. Queer and Kinky History. I will not be clicking on that. MLAI Dystopia. So neurodiversity. So these are definitely some niche lists, but like we talked about earlier, about there are some very like niche apps and websites for if you're looking for, say, books with characters who are neurodiverse or dealing with neurodiversity or those sorts of things, because y'all, we are readers who are interested in those things, right? Some of us do deal with those sort of things and want to read characters who are dealing with those sort of things, neurodiversity or LGBTQ issues or racial issues, gender, like any of those kind of issues. You're tall, you're short, you're big, you're small, you're, you know, you work out too much, you don't work out enough, you eat the right things, you eat the wrong things, whatever those things. It sounds super silly and like niche and cliche to like if it doesn't affect you, but I think that if it does affect you, you really do want to read those things and see them in books. And I think it's great that there are places where you can go and find curated lists where you can find books that meet your needs. I don't know how I just fell down that rabbit hole, but I feel like I almost called it Book Dragon because I saw the Book and the Dragon and I forgot that we're on Bookworm. But I feel like Bookworm is that. I might come back here later and mess around with this some more just to sort of support this site because I think it's a pretty cool idea. But in the meantime, the in-between time, let's head over to Fable, which is like the exact opposite of that. Now, Fable, y'all come at me. I don't care. Defend Fable all you want. Fable is pretty like corporate-y. I like Fable. It is a beautiful website. Here is their website. Now we need to get over onto the app. So here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about it on the website for a minute. But then we're going to switch over and look at it on my phone, which means I know I feel like I have to forewarn y'all, but I'm about to take off these headphones, y'all. And like I said, I did a ride on the bike a little while ago, so things are just happening all up in here. I'm warning you. So, but before we do that, let's talk about Fable for a little minute on the computer. So this is their website. You can't do much at all on the website. You can go in. Here's me. Hello. So on Fable, let's talk about what Fable is. Fable's I feel like Fable's kind of a dating site for books. One thing that Fable absolutely does do, and you can try to defend this, and I don't care, you're wrong, they try to get you to buy books. And I mean, that's just part of their gig. So when you click on a book, they try to get you to buy it. And you know what? Let's just get over onto the app and we'll talk about this. So you know what, I'm just going to get us off here and we'll get onto the app. So hang on just a minute. Let me flip over. All right, y'all, I'm on my phone. So let's just jump in. And of course, all of these apps that we've talked about or all of the websites that we've talked about have phone apps because, I mean, it's not 1990, right? But Fable is the one that I really want to talk about now because it's the one that shines on the phone. Like, I don't use it on my computer at all. Like the others, heavy social element, like you can go in and talk to people and y'all can chat about books you're reading and all the things. I don't do any of that. Here's what I like. There are a couple of things that I really like about Fable. I think I mentioned I do not like that they like to sell you a book. So like, let's click on Just for the Summer, Abby Jimenez, which I have finished. You can see right there, I can buy it for $11.99. I already have it. I don't need to be buying it from y'all. And if you click buy, it says, we can't sell books in the app, but ebooks you've already purchased through Fable can be read in the app. Seriously. I don't want to say that literally the last place I'm likely to read any kind of book is in the Fable app, but y'all, seriously, about the last place I'm likely to read a book is in the Fable app. So no thank you, Fable. I don't need you for that, but here are some things that Fable does do well. So folks in here chatting about books they like and all the things. You can join book clubs. Y'all, for seriously a year, I've been talking about creating a book club. And if you're thinking, why am I not part of her book club? Because I've been thinking about it and talking about it for a year. I've yet to actually do it. We're going to get there, I promise. But here's what Fable, I think, does really well. I love how you can go in and sort of explore different options for reading books. And here's one that I really love. I love their mood quiz. I don't know why. I just really like it. So you can go in and find the mood of your next read by taking a quiz. So I'm going to quickly take the quiz. And I told it what I wanted or what I liked and didn't like. And now I get this sort of Tinder-esque swipe left, swipe right to like decide if you like a book. So then I just click interested or not interested. So Love in a Time of Serial Killer, yes, please. 7-Year Slip, yes. Bridget Jones, nah, probably not. Betting on You, don't even know. Oh, that was Len Painter. Yes. Jane Austen, no thank you. First Date, Prophecy, probably not. Make Habit, I'm still a little sketch on her. And you can just scroll right by. If you don't want to vote on them, you can just scroll right by. So that's super fun. And I can save my 3 books. So I picked 3 books and now I can save them. So that's super fun. I like that. And I love how they do ratings. So let's find a book. Let me see if I can find a book to rate. Let's go to my finished. Oh, Just Don't Fall. Y'all remember this one? Let's see. Will this let me rate it? Write Your Own. Okay, so now I'm going to give it a... Oh, I really didn't like that book. I'm going to give it a 3. And how did I feel when it was over? I wasn't mad. I was just kind of meh. Because how would you describe this book? Warning to other readers. That's what I need. Let's see. It's interesting that the warnings are nothing that I want to warn people about. What wasn't for you? Bad writing. It was predictable, unengaging characters. Yeah, it was just lame. Want to share more? No. So they'll generate, and I think y'all, I'm an English teacher, so I think this is a little disingenuous, but they'll generate a review for you. I don't do that because if I'm going to like actually review it, I'll write my own words. But so I put a few little words on there, and so I can put the face that I made when I finished it, and it just sort of gives you an idea. So when you're scrolling by, you can see how somebody felt, what they thought, and whether you want to actually like engage with that book or not, like go in further and read or not. So I like that. Look, this person gave it a 2. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna stop bashing that book. But yeah, I like that a lot about the reviews. I like the little faces that you can see. So like if you're looking for a happy book, you just look for happy faces. Or if you're looking for like a sad book, you look for cryy faces. So I think that's really cute and it's cool. And I love the little tender swipe left, swipe right. So let's get into some actual stuff about the site. It allows you to import your Goodreads information as well as your Kindle information. So it's very Amazon heavy, obviously, but it allows you to bring in a lot of your, if you're a Kindle Amazon user, it allows you to bring in that information to influence what information you're getting out of Fable. So that's really nice. I do like that. And let's go back to explore one more time quickly. So we did the mood quiz. You can browse by genre, love that. So I can go in, of course I'm a romance girl, and I can just browse through the romance books and see what looks good to me. I think that's fun. You can sort those by popularity. And this is also super fun. This goes back to the whole like Tumblr-esque-ness. You can build your TBR. So if you just go into build your TBR and you can swipe through this curated list that it has for you. And so the Starless Sea, no idea. Let's skip that. Atlas 6, want to read? I actually own that book. City of Brass, don't know what that is. That looks pretty cool. And it shows you the star rating. So Icebreaker, let's not even talk about that. The 5th season, that looks amazing. Adding that to my list. Atlas Paradox goes with Atlas 6. Sanderson, what is this one? The Way of Kings? Y'all, that is a tome. That book is like this thick. Don't know who that is. Let's skip that for now. Jade City, a little intimidating. Deadly Somethings. It's 3.8, probably not. Shadow of the Gods. Look at that thing. River Enchanted. Look how beautiful. Rebecca Ross. Yes, please. All right. One more and then let's get out of here. Not that one. Y'all, Encyclopedia Fairies keeps coming up. Read that. Have that. I know I said one more and that was like 4 more. Okay, let's get out there. But you can see how this can be addicting. It's like a little like card game where you just go through and sort and click. And now those are in my TBR. And now my TBR list has been updated and we're good to go. Okay, let's get out of here because we have one more thing to talk about. Let me see. So I have notes, believe it or not. So let me look. Mood quiz, browse by genre, build your TBR. Oh, let's look at one more thing and then let's go. If you continue to scroll on Fable, so we're still in Explore, right? We did our mood quiz, we built our TBR. If you scroll down some more, you get into some pretty niche lists. And again, I just think that's cool. There's an LGBTQ plus memoir list, my recently viewed. Book club ready books, those are really handy to have around. So they have some lists that you wouldn't, sad girl lit. No, Danielle, get out of it. But they have some lists on here that you wouldn't necessarily see otherwhere. So there is other places, elsewhere. There are things past the tissues. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, y'all. Dead Romantics, I have that. Okay, get out of there. You see, y'all see. Okay, we're going to get out of there. And so that's Fable. Oh, we're not going to get out of there. Let's look at one more thing. One more thing and then we're done. Let's look at the reading stats. Now, stats on here are beautiful. Mine are completely useless, mostly useless. No, yeah, mine are completely useless because I need to go back in and look at these. But of course, I've imported my data from Goodreads and Kindle. So I should have a bunch of books in here. And I do, like when I put, like y'all saw when I pulled up that absolute dreck hockey player book. It showed that I had read it. So it does have the information, but it's not showing my read books. So I think it only wants to give me credit for books that I've read on here. So I would have to go back and like unmark and remark all of my books that I've read so far this year. And it's because they want you reading and buying books inside the app. I get it. But anyway, look how pretty their statistics are. I love, love, love. So I like how they present them. Let's get out of there. And let's go to one more. And that's Bookmory. Like memory, but Bookmory. Love this. Y'all, this is just a tracker. You don't import anything. You don't do anything. You can see right here, I just outed myself. I read Icebreaker. We'll talk about that another day. Don't come for me or come for me. I don't care. I will defend my opinion of this book. So this one does a bunch of things, but all the things that it does are just about tracking your reading. So you go in, you track when you read. You can track how much time you spend reading every day. It'll track that for you. If you go in and like start it, every time you start reading, it'll track your daily, like your reading streaks by days. It'll give you your animal statistics. No, Danielle, your annual statistics. You can tag things. So, and it'll track your tags by books. Like right now, the only book that I have in here is Icebreaker because I was reading it when I started using this thing and I just wanted to see how it worked. So these are the tags in that book, but it will sort of like cross-reference. And I'm sure if I did that, I would start seeing lots of the same tags coming up over and over again. But here's what I really like. Paused books. So if you're reading a book and you're like, I'm a DNFR in this, like I'm just going to not finish it right now, which I hesitate to do because I don't want to DNF a book. Because even if I don't like it, like Icebreaker, for instance, halfway through, I was like, seriously, just get there. I don't want to not finish it because I feel like at least like I've started it, and I know folks are like, life is too short to read bad books. I don't disagree. But if I'm going to talk about a book, I feel like I owe it to folks who are listening to me and like to the book itself to finish it so that I can talk about the whole book. And I feel like if I stop reading a book and go on to read something else, I'm not going to go back to it. But if I have something on a list, I'm going to do it. So if I have a DNFRN list and I'm like, all right, I got to finish my DNFRN list by X time, I'll go back to it. Or like once I finish reading a book and I'm like, what am I going to read next? I might go back and look at that DNFRN list and pick up a book that I didn't finish and give it another shot. So this might actually be a bit liberating for me. I know that sounds crazy, but so that DNFRN, paused books, and then there's DNFs too, like books you just did not finish. I think that's really cool. There's your reading timer. So if you're like, I'm going to read for 27 minutes today, you sit down and start your reading timer. It allows you to put in notes when you're reading. And I think that's really cool because I struggle sometimes. Like I keep tons and tons and tons of notes in my Supernote and I use it all the time, but I struggle with how to keep up with notes in books. And I think Bookmory might be a good way to do that. So using that in tandem with, if you're going to commit to one of the book trackers, Bookmory in tandem with that might be a really good combination. So that's Bookmory, and y'all, I'm gonna get out of here. So those are the two apps I wanted to show you. So let's get out of here. And y'all, I think that's it for our exceptionally long stroll down the path of discussing alternatives to Goodreads. I think Storygraph and Hardcover are great. Hardcover, not hard copy. Are great options. I am definitely going to use both of those. I don't know that I'll choose one or the other, but I like them both. I love Fable for sort of scanning through and looking at books. I want to like Bookwyrm. I'm going to go back and mess with that some more. I'm going to use Bookmory to keep up with things, like I'm going to try to use it to allow myself to pause books, and I'm going to use it to keep up with notes in books. And y'all, I think that's it. I think those are all the ones we talked about. Of course, there are many, many more out there. Let us know in the comments if you're using any of these, which one have you chosen and why? And if there's a different one that you're using, please let us know why you're using it and what you love about it. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, we are most definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.